16 minutes to 8 o'clock. I'm Arnold Segawa. This is Morning at NTV. Time to shift gear and move into some private school talk or education as a whole. Just very recently, there was a statement that was issued to have private school teachers actually clear the dues of some of the teachers and even, should I say, some of the staff. Now, this raises a lot of questions. And to just delve into this particular conversation and shed some light on this is a school owner, also a Kasambia County MP, Mwatekamwa Gaffa. Mr. Gaffa, many thanks for making time to speak to us.
Thank you so much, Mr. Segawa. And I may say maybe good morning to our viewers.
Yes.
And I'm very honored to be here.
And thank you for the mask.
Yes, the mask is locally made, yes, because we are encouraged to buy Uganda, build, yes, Uganda.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let's touch on the school issue. I understand you're a school owner yourself.
True.
Now, how many schools do you have?
5.
This is
including a nursing school. My schools are called Answered Prayers Schools Limited. I have primary schools. There are 4. 3 in Muende. I have another one in Chegegwa. I have another one in Ibanda, and the nursing school. So that is my business. That is the only business I understand. That is the service I can give to this country.
Right, and with the lockdown, all of these are definitely closed. How have you been faring? How has this affected your, I don't want to say cash flow, because my understanding would be that at the beginning of the term, people clear their dues. So you should be laughing to the bank. There's hardly any expenses.
First and foremost, we need to understand that schools in a rural setting are quite different from schools in town setting. For us, I think we are doing poorly. We are doing poorly. We've been affected heavily because schools in town, the category of parents who take their children, like you and the rest, at least you're earning a living. And they have some policies that your child to report to a school must have paid a certain percentage, or you pay school fees to zero balance. Most of the well-to-do schools. But in the village, getting a parent who pays 10% of the school fees at the beginning of the term, you're very chanced.
So from what I'm gathering here is predominantly many of the parents or sponsors in the rural schools do not actually clear the 50%.
They don't. Let me tell you, by the time they announced a lockdown, it was a Friday, we were supposed to have a visitation on a Sunday. And for us, parents pay at the beginning of the term, and they pay, they clear the remaining balance or some balance when they come for visitation. So by the time they they told us to close, parents had not cleared. So we are doing poorly. We are demanding a lot of money, and now that we never completed the term, I'm wondering if we had come back, the parents we are demanding, are they going to pay our balance?
But that, of course, raises a moral issue, because then the parents can easily tell you that, there were no services offered.
What about the parents who had cleared to zero balance? They also tell us, please, can you refund our money?
Or you push that forward. There has to be a way to sort out these arrears, because if someone had not cleared, there has to be a way for you to quantify that and maybe push it to the next term. Or if someone had cleared the whole term, there has to be a way to quantify that and push it into the next term. It's like a deferred tax or a deferred asset.
No, I think it shouldn't work like that. That's why we are coming out to say that we need government bailout. They must. The government
I'm playing devil's advocate here, because there's two sides to the coin. I do hear where you're coming from as a school owner, yes, but also as a parent who had actually paid. So there's two sides to the coin here, and there has to be a compromise. So many a times we do hear people going on about the government, what can the government do, but this is something that has to be sorted away from really government clutter.
No, how can we sort it out? I'm telling you, I know the category of my parents I'm dealing with. These are the parents who are maybe their nature of job, they are driving, they are riding borders, they are having bars, and you've totally locked them. They are not working. So even if you tell them that, please, you're supposed to pay this school fees next term, you calculate the percentage of what they had used, they are not going to pay. Then there comes a letter from PS dated 18th instructing all directors, proprietors that we need to pay our teachers salaries. And I cannot even understand a PS who is technical coming out with such letter. Is he aware that our income depends on what students pay? Is he aware? Have we been transacting any business? Where does he expect us to get the money? Should we go to the banks because we want to appease our teachers, get loans, pay them? Is that a viable venture?
Okay, was there any consultation made? As a school owner, I could understand, or my logic tells me that at least there's a sort of a congregation as school proprietors, as school owners, or even directors and principals, where you actually have some discourse.
No, we are not consulted. Actually, government, it has a tendency of thinking that for us, any policy they come up with, we are supposed to adhere. So they think we are not very important to be consulted. But even if we are not consulted, a technical person at the level of the PS knows this.
What's the situation in government schools?
Government schools, at least they had gotten their capitation grant, of which they had even utilized. And for them, they have the capacity to pay teachers. And that's what even you quoted in the letter, that the public servants, for them, they are paid. But the government should know, the PS should know, that we are actually doing a service, a complimentary service. We are doing you a favor. It should be the obligation of the government to employ its citizens.
I beg
and
to
pay
differ.
them. But if I do a favor and employ someone, the government has failed to employ and gives me orders, no way.
Mr. Mboteka,
yes, if we just them today,
I would beg
would
to
they
differ.
employ them?
I would beg to differ because that is like my employer saying that they're doing the government a favor to give me a job.
Why not?
No, that's not a favor. That is something that you are actually making a living out of too. So if you are doing this pro bono and you're not paying taxes, you're not getting any returns as a proprietor, then you can say you're doing a favor and you're Red Cross. But you're not the Red Cross. At the end of the year, at the end of the term, you also make a profit. That's why you have a fancy suit.
Thank you so much, Segawa.
You cannot say that you're doing anyone a favor.
So the government wants me to act as a relief agency?
No, it's
yes,
not relief.
Because if it knows I'm not doing any business, I don't have any income. You want private schools to act as Red Cross relief agencies?
No,
is it a viable venture?
I think you should take back that statement. I definitely agree with everything else that you've said, well, much of it, but you cannot say that you are doing the government a favor by offering Ugandans jobs. You as a Ugandan, you as a stakeholder in this country, it is your prerogative to start up an entity that is thriving as it is right now, which are your 5 schools, pay tax, which you're doing legally, but you cannot say that you're doing Ugandans a favor as a whole by offering people jobs.
It's not a favor? What is it?
That is a service to your country.
And if I don't provide that service, is there any law that compels me to provide that service?
There's no law that is compelling you, but surprisingly, you're a member of parliament,
yes.
And I would have thought that you offering your constituent jobs is actually a service to your people. That is not something that you owe your government.
You've brought it well. It is a service. I'm doing a service to my people. I'm doing a service to Ugandans. That's why we need government to come in at this time.
But it's not a favor.
No, it's a favor. It's a favor.
Those are two things that
if I close my school tomorrow, would the government employ these teachers?
But many private schools do close very often, Mr.
Yes.
Matakama.
And that's why we've ended seeing many Ugandans, many teachers are just in Saudi Arabia as slaves.
As slaves, if
Yes.
you're the Sri
Modern
Lankan
slavery. Modern slavery.
the Sri Lankan economy, the Nigerian economy, they thrive on remittances. That is money that is brought back to the country. It's bigger than our GDP as Uganda, and that is actually money that you and I can easily survive on. If we're to look at remittances for the Ugandan economy, it's north of 10 billion. So you cannot compare the two.
Arnold, I've called them slaves. Arnold, if you went now, you are a presenter. If you went in a certain country and you're given a job of a cleaner or a security guard, you're being underpaid. That is not your profession. You did not even go to study and say, I need to be a security guard. So all our Ugandans who are in those UAE countries, what are they doing? Teachers. They are guards. So if we stopped, if government suffocates us, because at the end of the day, I run out of business. If you're telling me I go and borrow and pay teachers, I'm not going to have a school the following day. I will close.
No.
This is the government that has been supporting the so-called investors, foreign investors. But for us, we are not even considered as people who are having small scale or medium enterprises, that we need a hand. We need to be supported.
How many teachers are you employing right now?
I can give you maybe school per school. Because
please,
yes,
out of the 5, yeah.
In my nursing school, I have 45 total. In the primary school, 2 of them are having 27, and the other 2, they are 24. So I personally, I employ more than 100 people directly. There are those that I employ indirectly. So
I understand the frustration, and I really get where you're coming from. But this should have started with, I understand, some discourse. You sit down with the appropriators, you tell them what the situation is, and you hear from them. Because I get the feeling that maybe the PS, you're hailing them for being very technical, but I get the feeling that they did not understand what rural schools go through when it comes to collection of dues and fees.
They are completely detached. Yeah. They are completely detached.
Yes. So I think that should have been the first situation that is sorted. But I believe in solution-based kind of discourse, and we sit down here. What, going forward, can be a decent solution?
First and foremost, before that, I can sum up the PSCs later as a hired MC on a certain function, whereby he doesn't know that the owner of the function bought only 1 crate of beer for his guests.
For all intents and purposes,
yes.
let's say soda.
Soda, okay,
yes, yeah.
Okay, soda. Yeah. For his guests or her guests. But he, according to the owner, maybe invited 1,000 people. But the MC is busy holding a microphone, assuring the guests how all of them are going to drink themselves silly. They will drink and even have enough drinks to take home. So that's how I can sum it. The PS is telling us to pay. He doesn't even know what is in our pockets. But he's aware that these people have not been making any business. But he wants to appease the teachers to think that the government is caring. No way, it's not. So the way forward, I have a feeling this. We are very willing to pay our teachers. Personally, I know that they are demanding their areas. But what did I tell them? Because we've been working well with them, we've been paying them, they know that my director has been paying. I told them, please, the headmistress is there, the bus is there. By the time we closed the school, we were demanding all this. Let us wait for the schools to reopen. We are going to pay you your money, period. So what are we saying? that before the government thinks about even reopening the schools, the candidate schools, they've been even singing, which has become even a song. Let them first unlock the parents. We need to first unlock the parents, such that the parents must first go and work. They generate income, such that when we return to school, they are able to meet their obligations. But you cannot tell a parent who has been locked for 3 months and you say, you return your child to school. How? Where is he going to get the resources? And for the government, it is very cunning. Once they return the candidates, they want them to pay money for registration, UNEB registration. And other entities like nursing school, we have UMINEB, UBTEB, they want them, for them they want correct income immediately. You cannot sit for an exam when you've not cleared their fees. But for them, do you know what they tell us? Oh, private schools, when a student has registered, please don't chase that student. You will demand when the student comes, maybe after the results are out and the student has come to pick the results. But for them, they need their money now. So our prayer is government should make it that this is the right time for the government to intervene, that all students, irrespective whether they are in private schools or government schools, they shouldn't pay any money for registration.
But this takes me back, Mr. Mbotekama,
yes.
This takes me back to an earlier question. Do you have a sort of a cooperative as private schools? Or a a union, not a trade union, but a union of sorts? Because you as Mr. Gaffer, you
yes.
cannot wake up and carry your placard and take it to the Ministry of Education. You need a collective voice. You're raising some very pertinent points here, but this for me sounds like a one-man army.
Mm. Anyway, we have an association that embraces all private school proprietors, and I'm a member, and I'm happy. Our executive is doing all it takes.
Like what?
It has held press. Yes, it has written to the ministry. Mm. They are aware about this. On top of that, some of us who are in parliament and we own such schools, I raised these issues on the floor of parliament. The minister promised to come up with a comprehensive statement, but shortly, when he had promised, now a letter came from the PS, who is the technical person. So, we are puzzled. We are not sure whether we are going to be listened to. So, that's why I'm saying this is the right time, the government to come and say, can you submit in all the lists of teachers who are supposed to be paid, such that we can pay them, even non-teaching and teaching staff? Because we shouldn't even talk about teachers. We have the asikaris who have been even at school. We have the cooks, they are there. So, government should be now telling us, please, all proprietors of private schools, submit in your lists of your employees. This time we are going to bail you out. Government should come to parliament with a supplementary to support all private schools. If they are saying that students should return to school, if that is the proposal that may come from cabinet, whether candidates or not, then government should get to know that it is ready to cater for us, all private schools and public schools. Besides that, let them not even think about reopening. We are not ready at all. The structures they are telling us, the infrastructure, you're telling us 4 meters. In a class of 4 meters, I'm supposed to put 12 students. How many teachers, if I have a class of 60, how many teachers am I going to employ for math to teach that subject? In a dormitory, they've been using decals, double beds. Now, you're telling me social distance. How are they going to sleep? How am I going to get all those dormitories in the shortest time? Even if I consumed all my classes, I'm not going to accommodate them. You are telling us that we are supposed to put up mechanism of protecting them. We are supposed to buy infrared thermometers, the gun thermometers. We are supposed to put in things to do with the sanitizing. But are you aware that in our village setting, we don't have running water? We don't have boreholes? We actually employ people to go and fetch water. Who is going to meet all those costs? Now, if I've been using 100 jerrycans of water in a school, and now there is an issue of sanitizing all the time, how am I going to meet all the costs? They should be thinking about that now. This is the right time. We've neglected all the villages. We've been living under pretense that everything is well. Hey, can we submit a list of schools with no boreholes? We come and construct boreholes before we can even proceed.
But of course, what they argued was they have pushed out some material, you know, on different media platforms.
Oh, beautiful. What a very beautiful question posed to me. I tell you what.
I think I know where you're going with this.
Yes! Now, let's go to the materials they've distributed, the so-called materials. Government contracts a government entity to provide these materials. I might not mention because you might find maybe the business is almost similar, at a tune of 6 billion. Now, the so-called company, government company, prints only we call remedial papers on a sugar paper of A3. In the villages, in all the villages in Mubende, getting even a photocopier that can even print A3. Oh my God. Nowhere. All A4. Above all, every parish, you send only one set of that paper. And you're telling parents to go and photocopy. When you know we don't have electricity, for all those years, it's not there. When you know we don't have all those machines, when you know people have been moving on borders, people they've not been working, and you're saying parents should go and print at the tune of 6 billion. I'm calculating, actually, let me be frank. The entity that got this contract is Vision Group. Let me be frank to Ugandans, because I'm not tarnishing their name. But even if they used 1 billion, they would print each and every paper to each and every candidate.
Mr. Mbote,
no, let me, allow me just a minute. You've talked about the TVs.
No, Mr. Mbote,
yes.
you have a very good job across the street here at this arena, which is as a parliamentarian.
Yes.
And you also own 5 schools. But if I let you continue, I might not have a job. So I think I'll shift gear very humbly and very kindly. I might not have a job if you continue on that path. So let us desist from talking about...
Can I talk about the TVs? Okay, let me just leave.
If you want to talk
TVs
about TVs
and radio station?
If you want to talk about TVs, you're going to talk about Nation Media TVs or Nation Media radios, because we have a few. We have Dembe, we have KFM, we have a lot of papers. We have the East African, we have Spark,
yes.
We have... Yes, let's
let me talk about TVs.
I might not have a job.
I'm not going to mention any of them. I know.
I might be the parent who's not paying their fees.
I know even UCC will say, how did you allow him to speak all
let's
that?
Desist
Okay. I need you to survive. One, let's talk about the TVs and radio stations, where they are alleging that students are attending all the lessons. Now, this is your Nation Media and maybe NTV at 10, they are teaching math. Yes. If they are teaching math, another TV station is teaching maybe SST, another one is teaching now. How am I going to follow? How many households do have TVs?
Mr. Mbote,
yes.
These things are being pushed on radio too. Now, if we're to go by a census, definitely our TV penetration is way lower than our radio penetration. So if this material is also being pushed, we have more radios than we have TVs.
Go to UBOS. Who go to UBOS and get the statistics?
Yeah.
How many people do have radios in Uganda? I will tell you, in Mubende, they found it was a rate of 23%.
That is where you're flawed.
Yes.
No, you're flawed because the mobile phone actually does have a radio. So I actually do have a radio on my mobile phone. So that is very
Mr.
flawed.
Segawa, I think that's how you people who have grown up in town, you are completely detached from the village setting.
No.
Now you're talking about a mobile phone.
Yes.
How many people do have mobile phones? Oh my God. Now, are you acting like Maria Antoinette in the French Revolution, who said if you cannot afford a bread, at least you buy a cake? If we don't even have the radios, a single radio in a household, but you're telling us that maybe we go and buy phones. Let me give you a simple example. In my nursing school of 400 students, only students with smartphones at that level of institution are 29%. And we failed even to keep on sending them work through a WhatsApp group because they don't have. So when you come and say radios, no. Again, the radios you're telling us. For example, I'm a teacher by profession, by the way. In a class, if I'm conducting a lesson, I'm supposed even to look at my learner or people to see how the learner is even paying attention. But you're telling me a radio station, someone is teaching on a radio station. Now, okay, let me ask you.
The reason why I bring that up.
Allow me. In a radio station, tell me how you can calculate. You can try to show me that you're finding the volume of so and so.
Yeah, and no, Mr. Mbotekamo, and this is the problem with us, Marie Antoinettes, who grew up in the city, because there's a thing called Geopol.
Yep.
Now, Geopol is a U.S. company that tracks in real time using satellites how many people are on FM, how many people are on shortwave, and this is in real time. Now, they can give you statistics of people who are tuned in. So, us, Marie Antoinette people, and UCC get this information in real time. Now, I'm not defending the statistics, but I'm telling you that Geopol, I'm not going to even go with Ipsos, because Ipsos it's very technical, their methodology. But Geopol uses satellites to give you this information.
Give it to Uganda?
It is global.
Okay.
Because Uganda, God knows Africa, we do not have our own satellites. I think South Africa launched one very recently. Rwanda just launched another. But you need satellites to be able to track in real time who is where, who is listening to what, internet penetration, GSM, GPRS, all this information is available with Geopol, and Geopol does avail you this information. So on that particular front, they can track who is listening to the radio at a particular time. Now, you do raise the issue of, at this particular time, Spark is on SST. At the same time, you do have mathematics going on NTV. I do hear you, but that is something that, let's be honest, as a parliamentarian, you do know that, let's try not to be very, very critical, because let's face it, this thing it's really hit us hard, and the government's really tight. Now, they are paying for this time on Spark and NTV simultaneously. They are paying for that airtime. So if they're paying for that airtime, their understanding, their logic would be, as a PS, as a person who's handling the accounts, his logic would be that instead of paying one time to Spark, and the next day I pay for this, think of it as streams. If you do have P7A, P7B, P7C, you're not going to have P7A having mathematics, P7B having mathematics, P7C having mathematics. You're going to have P7A having math, P7B having science, P7C having French. So that is the same logic that I'm going with here, and you cannot use that to criticize the Ministry of Education, because they are using the same time slot to have math, to have science, to have SST. So your logic, the rationale there, I have to admit, is a bit flawed. Because even when we're having contact, we were not having the same streams or the classes having the same subject simultaneously. Let me allow you to wrap it up. This was a very good conversation, and I hope to have you back. I'm sure the people want to see your face very, very soon. Please wrap it up, Member of Parliament.
Okay, my appeal to government, please you listen to us, people who are complimenting government work. We need bailout, and we are not ready. If you open up before unlocking the parents who are still locked up in their houses are not working, and you're not ready to bail us, provide everything in our schools, we are not ready. Unless you want to see strikes and strikes, unless you want to see even more cases coming up in our schools. So this is our humble prayer. If you're watching us, please bail us out. Government come up with a supplementary. You bail out all private schools, then there we shall be ready to work. Besides that, please, can we have a dead year until we are ready, when parents have started working and you're aware that now they have enough income, then you can let us begin. We are not rushing. We would be the ones actually agitating that you open the schools the way you've seen churches, that hey, please open. We would be saying please open because we need to have income, we need to do what, but we are saying, we are warning you, we are not ready unless you give us all we want. And for teachers, please be patient to us. We shall pay you when these students come back and pay our money. Besides that, by the way, why shouldn't you first think about of your job security as the teacher before you first think about payment? Are you aware of how many schools are going even to close? So you pray for us. I normally tell people that if you're demanding someone your money, you pray for that person not to die. Because if that person dies, who will pay you? But you find some people, they are demanding someone is going to a witch doctor to get a medicine to kill the person. But if I die, who is going to pay you? So pray for our business, then we shall pay you.
Mr. Gaffer, many thanks for making time to come in. Very insightful conversation. That was Mr. Mbwetekamwa Gaffer, who is a Kasambia County MP, and also a very insightful school owner. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back with more Morning at NTV.